Hello again, I'm Tripp Rogers, and this is Tripp's Take. Well, as my buddy Mike Sheck and I say, this is the most wonderful time of the year. Yep, it's time for fantasy football. And more so than any other sport, fantasy football, I love it. It's so much fun. So many people get involved in it. And it is, again, one of my favorite things to do. Now, have I gone a little overboard? Yeah. Did it cost me my marriage? Yeah. Did I learn from that mistake? I think so, but I was a little crazy the first year I was here in Georgia, and Sandy was a little upset with me, but I've kind of toned it back. And one of the reasons is because, well, we do the podcast, and I talk about it all the time, the Fantasy Sultans, the Hall of Famer Mike Sheck. This is our 11th year we're doing this. Be it we started on terrestrial radio, we then went to the podcast, and we now do a video podcast, and you can catch that. We're back on terrestrial radio. We'll be on Fox Sports Radio, New Jersey, which is located at the Jersey Shore, and we will also be on foxsports.com, so you can catch us, and we'll be on Sundays at 12 noon. And it's really kind of fascinating because fantasy football shows, we were doing this in Philadelphia back 20 years ago, and actually 24 years ago. And that was at a time that fantasy football shows, they were not there. But fantasy football has grown and people play it. Now, do they understand it completely? Not necessarily. That's where kind of I come in. I had a friend whose wife got into her fantasy football league at work. I said, all right, I can help you. Come on over to the house. We'll do this draft. And it was funny because I was seeing this through the eyes of someone who had never done this. It's been a while since I had that. I've done it with my daughter now. I can't remember how many years. We started when she was in high school and we were playing fantasy football together. And she's grown up with fantasy football. She knows this. And it's been a while since I've seen it through the eyes of a first timer. And it was so funny doing this draft with her. We did it last week. And again, I helped her. I will admit it. But man, some of the things I saw in that draft just made me shake my head. So again, if you want fantasy football tips, watch our podcast, The Fantasy Sultans. It also drops Thursday. You can find it on Spotify for podcasters, and you can also find it on YouTube. Just search for The Fantasy Sultans. And again, we will be on the radio on Sundays starting at 12 noon on Fox Sports Radio, New Jersey. And so I'm pretty excited about that. But again, football season is here, and I enjoy football. I think of all the sports, it's my number one. Although auto racing probably in there at number 2, baseball at number 3, hockey at number 4. College football, you got that on the weekends. High school football on Friday nights, you can't beat it. And then on Sunday and Monday, you have the NFL. And maybe Thursday, you have the NFL too. I enjoy it. I will be curious to see how this first game in Brazil will work out. Again, it's Friday night. It goes against, Friday Night Lights and in Georgia, where I am. Yeah, it's pretty big stuff. But the NFL can only play on that Friday night because they're not allowed to do that during the regular football season. This is something that has been worked out, but the NFL is creeping to the point where, they're going to have games on a lot. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the scheduling goes with this Christmas, because they're going to have a game on Christmas or 2 games on Christmas, no matter what. Doesn't matter what day of the week Christmas is. It's just going to be interesting how they're going to play that or how it's going to work out. And of course, the other part of the NFL is, they've got something going every month. That's how the NFL is taking over. And it's going to be interesting if and when they get that 18th game, because that 18th game is going to mean the season will go 1 week longer. And that means the Super Bowl will be on President's Weekend. So they'll play it on Sunday, and people will have Monday off. That's the biggest thing about Super Bowl Sunday is productivity is awful. Productivity is awful 2 days in regards to sports. Number one, it's the Monday after the Super Bowl. And number two, it's the day after the March Madness brackets are drawn because everybody's putting the office pool together. Seriously. Now, it used to be when they would have day baseball when they have the playoffs, but baseball does not have the same oomph that it used to. I mean, I remember as a kid, I know I sound like an old crotchety old man, but I remember the World Series games being played in the afternoon and the playoff games being played in the afternoon. And I remember racing home from school to watch these games. And you bring a transistor radio to school. That was a part of it. But baseball went away from that. And baseball now plays all the World Series games at night. And they're even geared to the West Coast, so they do it later and later. They've lost a generation. They really did because of the television money and because of scheduling the games so late. I mean, really, the New York Mets were playing against Arizona, and those games started at 11 o'clock at night for the East Coast teams. Now, I know Met fans are diehards, but I'm not staying up till 2 in the morning to watch a baseball game. I mean, it's very rare I'll stay up to watch the end of a Monday Night Football game, although I've been doing that. I've been up later on that. But that's what I'm saying. You know, a lot of times now they're thinking of West Coast, and I understand that, but you gotta be, you're losing a lot of fans. I mean, I used to stay up to watch the games. I used to be able to. Of course, you know, by the time they started playing everything at night, I was old enough that I could stay up and watch the games anyway. You know, and this was in the 70s, and of course, you know, but kids, you know, kids don't want to watch it. I know baseball has done a lot to speed up the games, and I love that. And they've got some personalities. I mean, listen, Aaron Judge, man, he's great. And he plays for the New York Yankees. I can only hope the Yankees do well because I'm a Yankee fan. And if I want to watch the games, I can watch the games. But day in, day out, I'm not as invested in baseball as I am in football because I'll watch every game, football. But then again, football season is 17 games long, 18 weeks. Preseason, you had a couple more. So I'll watch that. I'll be invested. It's kind of like NASCAR and Formula One. I'll watch them. I'm vested. But again, part of the reason I watch Formula One is it's on at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sundays. Not much else is going on then. So I'm invested. I'll enjoy it. And I enjoy football. And I'm invested because of fantasy football. But I'm not going to stay up late to watch games. I know some people do, but that's not me. Not going to do it. And that is Tripp's Take for August the 29th, 2024. Labor Day weekend this weekend. Hope you enjoy the time off. A lot of people have Monday off. Love to hear your comments and questions about my podcast. Please feel free to drop me an email, trippstake@gmail.com. Fantasy football players talked about it. The Fantasy Sultans are back. The Hall of Famer Mike Sheck and yours truly, Tripp Rogers. You can find us on Spotify for podcasters and YouTube. Just search the Fantasy Sultans. And we're on the radio on Fox Sports Radio New Jersey beginning this Sunday at 12 noon. We have a fantasy football special on the 1st of September, and then we'll be on for a half hour on Sunday mornings at noon leading into the football games. Like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen to WTRSradio.com online. Join me again next week. For now, Tripp Rogers. Thanks for listening and watching. Make it a great one.